You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah.
This is really cool. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Minute to Skim It. We're going to review comic books that are coming out this week so that you know what to do when you go to your LCS tomorrow and you can pick out books with authority.
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 Respect my authority.
You're pretty good. I see Triple B and Leonard and Lorena and Sean. Hi, everybody.
Let's do this thing.
All right.
Or based on the way we started the show, let's do this thing.
I'm going to have to do the entire show now
No,
in character voices.
no,
Oh.
because I will start swearing.
Oh no. Okay. This is from new company Magma Comics. They actually have had at least one book come out so far, which I enjoyed very much. This is The Scale Trade, which these characters live in a world in which dragons exist. They are part of an organization that feels like from the book that isn't very well respected. And if you're part of the organization, I don't know, your enforcement of the rules kind of seems arbitrary, but anyway, the organization itself protects dragons in that I guess that there are people that slaughter dragons for dragon meat because I guess dragon meat spoils less quickly or not at all. I don't know. Or other, mean things that you would do with animals that you shouldn't. It doesn't look like from at least this first issue that they have a problem with people like being like, this is my pet dragon. So anyway, it's a fun book. It's really, it's the biggest part of the premise. They actually go and try to break up like a dragon meat ring, I guess is the best way to call it. And find a little cutesy baby dragon in there. So cute. And that's going to create problems. So it's really like this kind of like grizzled, well-worn dragon protector fellow and this new rookie who's like, I already know everything. I studied dragons in college and I read all the documents and all that stuff. So he's kind of a cocksure. It's going to be interesting. So if you like pretty dragons, this is a fun book to read.
I'm still back on dragon meat ring.
Yes.
Those are words that should never appear consecutively in a sentence. I'm just throwing it out there.
No.
Okay. Okay. This book is so good. So good. Like the best work Ed Brisson's ever done. In my opinion. And that's not just because I dislike Oshawa, Ontario. Even though we've gone over this several times. This issue continues or picks up right after the shocking ending of the last issue. If you haven't read the last issue, I don't want to spoil the big shocker at the ending, but there's a big shocking ending. And this kind of is a few weeks later, and our group of survivors are starting to fracture, right? They are that thing where you're with someone for too long, like when you're with only the same people all the time forever, and you start to hate each other. or like when me, Jay, and JD get into a room together. Heyo, it's that. And so people start making bad decisions, and we're starting to see the negative repercussions of those decisions. It's long been established in this book that people forget who you are. You actually cease to exist if you're one of the survivors. And the second you leave someone's sight, they don't remember you. Well, what happens when the survivors leave the other survivors and are out by themselves alone and the other survivors can't see them? It turns into this real sort of dystopian sort of thought process. And I wonder, and I would love to ask Ed, I'm going to have to now, if this disappearance isn't maybe an allegory for a certain pandemic that the entire world is engulfed in with illicit substances, because it certainly has those vibes on some levels. So this one is super fun. Again, I am loving every second of this one so far, and I'm glad Ashi was back.
Oh,
Gojira!
Oh, it's there's like how many more Godzilla stories can I read and still be super psyched about Godzilla? It turns out I don't know the 6 or 10 or 8 or whatever in this. Yes, more, please more. So the two I'll mention that I remember very well is the first one is the James Stokoe, and it is gorgeous because he was born to draw dinosaurs and dragons. Telling you right now. And then the next one is a Dan DiDio story, which I was like, oh, heck to the yeah. So that one starts like they should make an entire mini movie of it. It was really this woman who's basically sitting in her lab. Boss comes in and says, what you got for me? She's like, well, I've kind of almost worked through this virus thing I'm supposed to be making for you guys, but having very much control over. And he's like, never mind. We've been watching your computer and we've been using that. And we've already released it into a very controlled situation so that we can, get moving on it while you're still working on it. And she's like, well, I don't want to tell you, but you've already been, like, I can see the viral load in this room. So you've brought it back to us. Thanks. So, kind of like the beginning of The Stand. I don't know if you guys remember that. The original Stand was so good that way, where it's just like, dadgummit, Campion, just stay in the bunker. You could have saved everybody if you just stayed in. Okay, anyway. So this kind of like takes that idea and say, well, is Godzilla impervious to also like viral things? And in this case, the viral kind of looks like it's been infected into like a giant mosquito. So if you like giant mosquitoes or terrified of them, you will love this book. But anyway, there's tons more stories. They're all really great. Some of them that's just like, you just don't care about the story. You're just looking at the art and being like, oh, my head exploded. This is a really thick book. So I don't know what the price point is on this. It's a one shot. Whatever they charged for it, it was totally worth it. And yes, there is some Mothra in there. I know that's all you care about. Pick this up.
Now I want a Godzilla Gets the Flu story.
All right. Just Forstner had to pick it. Every time I see it, I got to pick it. So I almost didn't finish this. I almost didn't get past page 2.
Oh.
That's because there's an editor's note saying that someone wasn't going to be in this issue. But I pushed through it. I'm kidding. This was good. I feel like it pulled from a bunch of episodes and made a new story out of it. But it does it in a way to where it doesn't feel like a rehash or, hey, I've already seen this before. And, This one is. Did we lose my audio?
I could hear you.
Okay, making sure. Well, this one is kind of like, without being too spoilery, how I've always felt about the circus, except for clowns. Clowns have always been cool with me for some reason. I was the weird kid that liked clowns. It was everybody else that performing that I was kind of iffy on. But it's a fun by the numbers issue that, much like the cartoon, it wraps up at the end of this issue. Um, I kind of wish, though, I guess if I had any kind of not really complaint, but maybe nitpick, I kind of wish that there was like an overarching story instead of it just being a bunch of one shots. It feels like I wish it was like an overarching story, but you know, at any rate, if they kept going like this, I'd be fine with it. It's a fun book. If you've been digging what Dynamite's been doing with these properties, definitely check this one out.
Is it true you secretly want to play Pennywise? Sean's calling you out in the comments.
Sean doesn't know what he's talking about. You're gonna get timed out.
I think secretly Sean wants to go into the sewers chasing a balloon.
Oh, Exo Man of War. I'm so glad I read this because I was so daggone worried. I know that I reviewed 2 other Alien books, Valiants, last week, I think. Faith and what was the other one? The Valiants, I think.
Yeah.
And both of them seemed to like put out the premise that Marek was DEAD, and I couldn't handle myself. I was so mad inside. This better not be right, or I'm gonna riot. Because a Valiant, if they kill a character, they're really dead. So I'm happy to say that Arik is off planet and very happy that all of Earth thinks he's dead. He's happy to let that continue forever because Earth is always trouble for him. So he's off trying to find his true love, which is neat because that kind of like ties back into my favorite of the storylines. I don't know if you guys ever read that really great run that started out as like soldier and then Visigoth emperor and whatever. That was really great. So in this one, it looks like Shenhara, which is his armor, has been damaged pretty critically and is trying to heal herself. It's really neat because at the beginning of the book, it kind of explains some things. Like if you don't know anything about Exo, you're okay. Kind of, it tells you all about, where that armor came from and that it really is, like an imbued soul. So it is, instead of being kind of like Friday is to Tony Stark, who's just like kind of a programmed AI. This is actually a real, used to be being that's giving him advice and talking to him and cares about him. So that's kind of the setup for this one. So if you're a fan of the normal running Exo Man of War from before and not the one where he was hanging out on Earth and got kind of weird for a little bit, however lovely that story was, if you like off-world Arik, this is for you.
Does this have, Miss Jen, I have a question.
Sure.
When Sean mentioned the Matt can't run on Exo, and there have been several lists. Exo Man of War is one of those that often, like, the writer really imbues it with a lot. Does this feel like a Becky Cloonan book? Or does it?
Really great. It's really great. It has all that stuff that you love, where you care about characters, and it's less about a battle and more about the struggle.
Right, because Matt Kent had like a real spy-ish feel to it to me, like. So, all right, cool. Yeah. I'm excited now. It's on my pull list. I just, now I'm excited.
You will like.
Okay.
Hercules.
This, right. I've never wanted Hercules to be played by Arnold Schwarzenegger in like the late 70s before. But this one really feels like that vibe, right? It's just like stuff is trying to hit him and he's just going like this. It's very much the I'm very strong Hercules and not so much the puberty is hard, Hercules. However, and I'm gonna blank on his name, and it's gonna make me nuts. The little
Welcome to my
Jason
life.
Alexander from the movie.
You
That
mean
is
Danny
Centaur
DeVito?
Danny
Danny
DeVito.
DeVito? Phil?
He looks like Jason
Phil.
Alexander, but he sounds like Danny DeVito. Phil,
Phil.
yes. This is a big Phil story, and I really, really enjoyed it. Now, again, he sounds like Danny DeVito in my head, and he's played by Jason Alexander from Seinfeld. Like, this is how I see it in this story. But it was a lot of a very small creature writing checks that his butt can't cash, and then Hercules kind of bailing him out, but also the person he's helping is as big of a klutz as I've ever seen in comic books. Like, they're the person that when you go into the temple manages to set off every booby trap at the same time. Right? If this was Indiana Jones, not only would the boulder have rolled over them, but they would have been shot by the arrows and lit on fire by the fire and snakes. Like, great. This also has some of that, right? Hercules as Indiana Jones, which Indiana Hercules is pretty awesome.
Okay,
Hercules in New York.
What happens to his
It's called
leg?
shadows, Sean. Like,
Sean,
do you not understand where the point of light is?
Sean doesn't believe in shadows. Let's
Okay.
start that rumor. Okay, here we go.
Ooh, monolith. Okay, so this is that part of the new you part they're doing for the Spawn universe. I like the way they're rolling this out because it doesn't presuppose that you've read every Spawn that has ever come out and know who every character is. So I like that it tells a story in such a way that you get a feel for who they are and their relationship to each other, if there's more than one, without doing that whole, like, let's treat you like children. So it's really well written. This one deals with the monolith, which is that character that's right down there at the bottom, who appears to have been supposed to have been siding with all of the evil creatures from Malebolgia's part of the world called Hell, and then it looks like he instead sided with that upstart, the Spawn from Earth, instead of with this creature that's behind him here, which is Omega Spawn. He's pissed off. And he's very, very powerful. And so this is the interaction between them as this Omega Spawn character wants to kind of like put Monolith under his thumb. So it's kind of a battle of the wills. They're both very strong creatures, so I don't even know what to tell you what's going to happen here. But it's only 3 issues, so it's going to do it quickly.
So, I haven't watched the Netflix show yet. This whole issue was just like a big war with like flashes of Keldor's childhood. If you don't know who Keldor is, that's Skeletor before he became Skeletor. It's weird. It's kind of weird. Like, it's a good book, don't get me wrong. I want to go ahead and I can't stress that enough. It's really good. But some of the dialogue in it, I had a weird problem with Red Sonja when we were reading Red Sonja, where it felt like there was dialogue put in some of the Red Sonja books that doesn't feel like people from that time would say it. You know, there's some things like that. There's some puns that get said in here, and just some of the dialogue just felt a bit off, felt a bit strange. But the art's good. The story was interesting. It's a bit of an origin story, not only for Keldor, but for a certain item Skeletor always carries around. And I don't want to spoil that, because when I saw it, I was like, oh! I mean, I was at Leo meme pointing at the screen like, oh, when I saw it. for first issue, it's not bad. But I also don't know a ton of He-Man stuff. I mean, I watched the cartoon when I was a kid, so I know things, but I'm not really deep into the lore of He-Man. So I think that someone else that reads this that is into that lore is going to be like, oh, this person is this person, because there was a person in there that I'd never seen before. But they're going to be like, this person is this, and that's why they're important. So while I enjoyed it, it was a little lost on me, but I'm hoping that further issues maybe clear it up a bit. So for the first time in a long time, I'm going to bring this back, and I'm going to say hashtag not that bad.
T-shirt coming sooner rather than later.
Venom separation anxiety. This is kind of cool. So, this appears to have, and I don't know when this happened or if this is supposed to be happening as a separate story. This appears to have Venom back together with Eddie Brock, which I thought was not true. I thought they were completely separate entities. But something happened, obviously, because they're back. And this has, without giving away too much, this has him interacting with a very scary character, a bad guy of some renown from another kind of part of the Marvel corner. Usually associated with, it's probably going to give everything away, with Jessica Jones. And just imagine, if they're going to get anybody new together with Venom, that there's going to be like, what if they got the symbiote? Ha ha ha. So it seems really, really cool. I'm terrified for, the last pageness of it. But if you like Venom stories and you like Eddie Brock Venom stories and you've missed them, here's a good place to jump in. And you don't really have to know anything. It gives you enough to be able to jump in here. Bye, Rich. I love you.
So canonically, this is early in the Venom lifespan, in Eddie Brock's time as Venom.
Okay, so it's actually gone back and is telling a story there.
David Michelinie, man, he can travel wherever he wants. He invented the character. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Right?
Dope.
But that's one of the reasons I ordered Miss Jen. There's a Venom book on my pull list because it's David Michelinie. So, okay, Rich Douek and Gavin Smith. So, somebody that Jay and I are both a big fan of, and my homie Gavin are doing this book. So, I'm gonna not talk about the art because Gavin did it, but I'm gonna tell you it's nuts. It's great. I'm buying several pages. That said, this is a sort of high fantasy, almost Dungeons and Dragons feeling story. Okay. But it's like if Dungeons and Dragons meant the what's the DC show where they travel through time and it's
Legends of Tomorrow?
Canary? Legends of Tomorrow. Okay, D&D Legends of Tomorrow. But only because, do you guys remember that episode of Legends of Tomorrow where we learned that unicorns are assholes?
Yeah.
Okay. Unicorns are jerks. That's all you need to know. Read the book. This is probably a story about cult of personality and making sure you follow the right leaders and you don't then go kill a unicorn to appease the leader because he will probably then stab you with the unicorn horn. Spoilers. I mean, doesn't generally work out well for you when you fight a unicorn and then you're like, see, I did it. Love me now. And you're like, no, that's not how that works. So it's actually the story of this person whose role was as a protector of the realm. They're working for this king. The king is a dirty birdie and is not super trustworthy. So she does her job. King betrays. Everything goes nuts. and we find out that essentially the only hope the future has is this character we were pretty sure was dead in the 5th panel. So how do we survive? Where do we go from here? And the reason it's called Heart Piercer, just as a trigger warning, so many people get stabbed in the heart. Like, I don't know if it's the only way to kill people or if it's just the preferred method, but so many people get stabbed in the heart. It's like, there are other body parts. Stab there. No, stabbed in the heart.
It's not called arm piercer.
I understand that, but like,
Coming soon, ear piercer.
it's the behind the scenes. It's a behind the scenes documentary on the world of Claire's.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
I think we're onto something. I
Yeah.
like that documentary.
Goodness.
Yeah, Miss Jen would totally be in. ID would cover it for sure.
Oh my goodness! And mentioning the unicorns, isn't like my brain is like failing me? Isn't that like the Shazam 2 premise? Is about
Yeah,
unicorns?
there's some. Yeah, unicorns are bad in the DC universe. Unicorns are bad. They will eat your heart, literally out of your chest.
And they like Skittles.
They do like Skittles, though.
Yeah, and I know it's Shazam. I was just worried I was going to turn into like a super being. So
Shazam. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, Redcoat does not disappoint. When we last left poor Simon Pure, we saw that he was dug out of his grave by a young gentleman who introduces himself as Albert, who ends up being a young Albert Einstein, which of course, if you're a being that never dies, you're going to run across a great many other beings that are really cool. So this one's a really great kind of romp through history with him. I think they're going to do this a lot, where like he comes up against something that he's trying to overcome, and then it shows him like failing at overcoming it in different, time periods. Because he's kind of I don't know how the best way to describe Simon is he's a real loser. The thing that they go through time and show this issue is kind of fun. It's like he started out being a really, really bad shot, even though he had chosen the job of mercenary, because it's really hard to hold down a job. People notice maybe if you don't ever die. So it kind of shows how horrible he was, and then eventually became okay. So this is more adventure, and you get to meet another historical figure who is also immortal, who appears to have also been turned immortal by the same, secret group that turned Simon into his immortal self. So I love that this thing all ties to the Geiger universe. It just is so cool to me how they do that. And the end of this book, it's neat. Go look at it because it has a timeline for all of the Ghost Machine books and when the major events happen for them. So you can see how they happen in relation to each other. Like Geiger's 25 years out from the most far book or character we're going to see. And the farthest back is, Redcoat. So it's kind of interesting to see the sandwiching of it, where it all fits. It's a cool universe.
My favorite thing about this cover is the tombstone. It says born 1749 and then just has a list of dates for died. I love that.
He dies a lot and gets buried, but not really dead.
Okay, Raise Hell. It's one of 2 Comixology books that I got this week. So this one is basically a world where demons exist, and 3 high school friends go to a shady mall, and they have a even shadier frenemy that has a kiosk there that sells stuff to summon lesser demons. They want to, they want to add a demon to their trio. So the demon they summon, he's a soldier for the demon king of like laziness. So
It's me.
so like he's small, he's lazy, he doesn't listen, he's hungry all the time, and has an attitude, which basically sums up every high school kid around that time. At least
Hey, I
this one.
resemble this book.
Yeah, same. Um, so this book was fun. I wouldn't say kid friendly, because it is blood magic that summons this little demon. So there is some blood, there is some cutting of the hands and stuff like that. But I would say like teens and up, this would be fine for them. Uh, Again, I have like with the last one, I have two nitpicks, just little bitty ones, and that is some of the character models when you're reading through the story, they kind of look the same. It kind of feels like they copy and pasted, but changed like the hair and skin tone on some of the characters. Not a big issue, but I noticed it. Um, and also, the book kind of feels like if I were to write a book with Gen Alpha characters and I wrote their dialogue as like things I think they would say, like turn up this bop. This band is eating and leaving no crumbs, and it's giving main character energy. Now I barely know what any of that stuff is. Barely know what I just said. That's why I had to write it down, read it in my notes. But that's what I think they think kids around this age would say. Like, it's a fun book though. I liked it. The demon is my favorite part of it. So do yourself a favor. This is a Comixology thing. I don't remember who this is going to come
Dark
out
Horse.
from. Dark Horse. That's right. So when this is out, if you get a chance, give this one a shot. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, guys, whenever we read Comixology books on the show, just know that we're reading it well in advance of FOCs. So you can go into your LCS and say, hey, there's this book coming in like 6 months. I want to order it. And then they can order it for you, and they know you want it. So you don't have to worry about missing out. You've got plenty of time.
Oh, X-Men Ultimate, how I love you. I've been converted into a Peach lover, although it's not necessarily for the art, but I feel I love the writing in this. If you have ever wanted to kind of get a little bit of the cool Japanese culture, like really Japanese culture, not just like the cutesy chibi version, but like the things that are more like the spirit realm things that they hold dear because it's very important to them, the spirit. And this actually has a part that happens that shows some of the high schoolers. So this is basically the main character is a high schooler. So you see a lot of cool culture things that they would do. So they are playing a traditional game, which to us I would say it looks like Ouija board. That kind of has the same kind of like layout feel to it, but it's a little bit different. They're playing it at lunch at school, so it definitely is a little more mainstream for them. And I don't think teachers would let us just Ouija board at cafeteria when I was growing up. And this goes a little bit farther into the relationships, shows how one of the characters has a really, like, you continue to see the bad home life. And you get to see the one that's got like the weather, seems to be weather related power, maybe Storm. Really like is trying to figure it out. So there's a big emotional aspect to her power coming out, and that happens here. So you can kind of see, honestly, the front cover. It's not really spoilery me telling you because it looks like exactly what happens. You'll once you read the book, you'll understand the cover much more. But it's a very, very cool. If you're gonna write an X-Men book, but not try to rehash material that's already happened. They're doing such a great job of writing a whole new universe, its own thing. I love it.
I never thought I would say the sentence I'm about to say. We don't need this Turtles book.
I thought this already came out.
No. We just got it at Comics Pro.
Oh.
Yeah, because they did Evolution, last run into Evolution. Now this is Re-Evolution. It takes place in that last Ronin universe, but it takes place chronologically out of place. The end of Evolution set up, or Revolution set up the next chapter, and this doesn't take place next. It takes place off to the side. It is, in my opinion, not the best writing in this series, not the best art in this series, and a not needed story, unfortunately. However, if you're a Turtles completionist, you gotta have it, right? And I am, so I read it. It is a side quest story that takes place in this last Ronin universe. So it has the potential to be a lot of fun. And in Turtles lore, side quest stories are where they always introduce dope new characters. So, like, there's that. But it doesn't really feel like it takes place in line as we head towards TMNT Alpha or as we head towards the next last Ronin saga. So it just feels like it's something dropped in because they had to drop it in. And that to me is incredibly disappointing. Till they introduce some cool character like freaking, Casey Jones or something, and now I'm, then I'll be back into it, so I'll keep reading it, but like
They got your number.
well, I'm a easy mark.
Okay.
What the heck is on the cover?
Okay. So there's going to be some asterisks in my review here. The very first one, y'all, I love wrestling. I'm not as hardcore about it as I was as a kid, but I love wrestling. And even the title is a wrestling kind of themed title because juice usually stands for blood. And there's a lot of blood in this book. I also would like to say wrestling is not fake. It is predetermined and choreographed. Just throwing that out there for folks because stuff hurts. I can tell you that. Kyle can definitely tell you that from experience.
Stuff hurts.
Yeah. I want to read issue 1 so bad after reading this. This is the hyper stylized anime wrestling superhero vigilante book I didn't know I needed. Now, I say superhero vigilante. There's something that happens in the first 2 panels of the book that kind of had me feel like that, but the rest of it is all a wrestling book, a wrestling like murder mystery. So this is about a family of wrestlers. There's a dad and a brother and sister. The dad was a wrestler, now runs a wrestling promotion that the brother was wrestling for. Well, during a spot involving a screwdriver, he gets killed. And again, little asterisk, a spot is kind of like wrestlers talk to each other before their match, and they set up what are known as spots and bumps. A spot would be like a top rope spot, would mean they'd get to the top rope, jump off. A springboard spot, springboard off the ropes. Floor bump would be throwing them from the ring to the outside. Kyle's going to correct me in the chat probably, I don't know. But that's how they always worded it.
I'm just having this moment where it's like, okay, now kindergartners, we're going to teach you wrestling terminology, but we're not going to do it in any way that it all reflects what we're doing in actual wrestling.
Elbow duck the elbow sunset flip.
Yeah.
So guys from the spot and the little sister decides, she's already been kind of wrestling, but she's going to really step up and start wrestling for her dad's company. But she's also wanting to find out what happened to her brother, because it's one of those situations where the screwdriver was hidden the turnbuckle for the heel or the bad guy to use during the match, but nobody knows who puts it there. It's kind of a, well, didn't you put it there? Well, no, I thought this person kind of thing. She's like, no, I think he was murdered. It's a fantastic mix of a murder mystery in wrestling. It's not for the weak of heart because, like I said, the sister. So there's a lot of blood. The sister only wrestles in death matches, which matches are glass light bulbs, tacks, barbed wire, Legos. I've seen in some matches.
Legos are not deathmatch. Legos are what you do in a family-friendly match so that you can do deathmatch stuff.
They still hurt as bad as tacks.
They hurt worse.
But look, I was highly entertained by this book. I would suggest this to wrestling and non-wrestling fans. Kyle, if you didn't read this, I think you would dig this a lot, man. I really do. This was almost my favorite book this week. Almost, because of the last book on the list. But this was almost my favorite book this week. I highly recommend this one. It's so good.
The dude's got a fork in his shoulder, just saying.
Yeah. Oh,
I'll be honest, the fork spot, not that bad.
No.
There are way worse.
Love this cover. Love this cover.
Oh, it's Stand for Green, too. Oh, crap.
This is a one shot, and the interior art is blow your mind good. It's so pretty. The main character in this book might be Doom, except for they're trying to put Doom back together. It's really Valeria. So it's weird, like the parents are all gone. It's really just her. It seems like everything else has been destroyed because Galactus has come, and instead of being his normal kind of like, I'm gonna be easily distracted and meander around and kind of control myself a little bit. I'm still eating planets, but I'm not, uncontrollably hungry. And in this telling of a tale, Galactus has lost his ability to control himself and has really just become a ravenous, like, eat everything you can, and has made it to Earth. And it's kind of cool how, like, they lay out the story so you find out afterwards what Doom did to try to protect us, or himself. I don't know. Maybe he was just trying to protect Latveria, but and what she has got planned to try to bring him back. It's really a cool story, and it wraps itself up very nicely. Enjoy it. It's a really thick book, but it takes a lot of space to tell a big Doom tale, and just about every page feels like it should be a framed piece. Myself, I need all of that art. Get it.
Okay. I am going to leave this one short and sweet and question marky. If this cover has something to do with something in the book, it was not made clear to me. It does feel like Sam Elliott, except Sam Elliott would have to be like Henri's great grandpa. It's super Russian, this book. Like super Russian. It's a murder mystery kind of story, but I think they want you to think it's a serial killer story, and maybe it is a serial killer story, but they don't give you any details except for some maybe faint allusions that it's a serial killer story. It really seems like it's a crooked cop story, but not even that crooked cops, because it's Russia in the 80s. So are they really that crooked, or are they just normal? And then, like, you're not given a reason to care about anything in this issue. Unless you immediately care about a dead body. None of the characters are redeeming. The one detective is a little whiny. The one detective is a little apathetic. The girlfriend of the whiny detective is like sort of like egging him on to be more whiny, so you kind of hate her. Like, there's nothing you really like about any of these people. and there's a dead body. So I don't know what they're trying to do here. That said, I do want to point out that if you're into murder mysteries where they're giving you literally as little information as is possible, this is for you. Like they're giving you just enough information to have fun with it and not enough information to actually solve the murder. So it could be good, it could be bad, but it's Ray Fawkes, who I have a lot of faith in terms of murder mystery writing. So I'm willing to keep giving it a try. But it just was like, give me a reason to care, and this is a over-the-top great book. But they didn't give me a reason to care, so it's just fine.
Just a reminder that the blood hunt is still going on. You have time to catch up. No big deal. There were like some tie-ins from last week, and I think this is the only blood hunt book this week, so you can have some fun with it. In this one, Spidey goes hunting for a missing Morbius. There's somebody else that's supposed to be in his, secret laboratory that has also been scuttled. So the whole book really is kind of a one-act play. This book, it really is someone coming to hook up with Spidey, and that's I'll let you enjoy the discovery of who that person is, with the purpose of going to try to find out where Morbius is, which will be important because this is a vampire problem, and it's going to have a vampire solution, I think. So jump in. It's been fun so far.
Go, Jay.
Okay, so we're going to rely more on Kyle's review of this, because here's what I'm going to tell y'all. This book is so good, I didn't even take notes on it. I just read it, and I was like, you know what? The first one was fantastic. I'm not expecting this one to be on the same level. To me, this one was even better than the first one. The little traveling time we're having with Oliver and his grandpa, and some of the not legally characters that we see in it. This book is fantastic, y'all. It is fantastic. This is literally the best book I've read. And I've read some good ones this week, last week. This is the best. It's so good. It's so good. This team is amazing. They're killing it. I hope this goes on for as long as they can have it be this good.
Okay. So this book should be called Legally Not, because it's legally not Yosemite Sam on the run with his grandson from legally not the crows from Disney movies. And in this issue, we meet legally not Wile E. Coyote.
Woohoo!
However, you get all of the classic comic tropes, like all of the Saturday morning cartoons, like diving off a cliff and being able to walk on air as long as you don't look down. Painting a tunnel on the side of a mountain and then having the coyote run into the wall because you doesn't actually create a tunnel. All of this stuff that is comic book or comic cartoon tropes is in this book. What we're discovering is that the tropes you hear in "My Dad Wasn't in My Life" movies about how, oh, I wasn't gonna be a good dad, I decided I needed, you're better, all that kind of stuff is happening, right? Which is why the kid doesn't know he's cartoonish. But if you plug your ears and blow on your thumb, or plug your nose and blow on your thumb, you will turn into a cartoon. So just don't try that at home. I believe this is Tony paying homage to the cartoons he loved growing up, all of the Looney Tunes and Hanna-Barbera and Disney stuff from that era. in his incredibly unique storytelling style. Like I said, it's just everything is a hit. I have a blank cover of this we got at Comics Pro, and I've already decided what I'm having done to it. And Dave Wachter and I'm going to have another cartoonist friend of mine collaborate on it. And it's going to be super fun, and I'm super excited. But the character I'm waiting for in this book is legally not Popeye and legally not Olive Oil.
Yeah. Well, one more thing I will say about the book. What is just fantastic about it is the clashing art styles. I love the clashing art styles between the humans and the cartoon
realistic
characters.
and very not.
Yeah.
There is a He-Man poster. How funny. All right, so this is a book that Vault kickstarted back in 2021 and just got filled this week. I've been really excited for it. That's not the only book that I backed in 2021 that's just now filling, by the way. So be patient. People got to get their stuff together, and eventually we'll get your stuff. This is, as I was reading it and looking at the art, I was thinking to myself, if I was nominating things for next year's Eisners, I would put this in the run because it's that beautiful. So loosely, this is about a girl / woman who it's kind of a shy girl, doesn't hang out with people. It doesn't look like she likes to wander around in the woods, and she's kind of like made pals with what looks like a big black wolf. Meanwhile, someone comes back to her town, I guess that's been away at the war, and has asked for her hand in marriage. And so there's this really crazy storyline going on where you can just kind of tell, that everyone in town thinks he's awesome. You're like, hey, it's Gaston. He's amazing. All the girls, everywhere you go, follow him around, And just as it goes on, it becomes more and more clear that relationship is not a healthy one. He expects everything from her. You have to stay home and wait for me, but every night I'm going to go to the bar. And be chased around by women, I guess. So this one becomes very, I will say it's departure from reality in that for most of the book, you can't tell whether she is fully human or part wolf, or if it's just a fantasy break that she's taking. But it doesn't matter because all of those parts of the book, and even the parts where it's just normal life for her, are so beautifully rendered as to make your brain explode. Like, this cover is not a lie. That is, like, if I can move a little thing out of the way, that's the book plate. So I don't know how to get this unless you have a store local to you that backed the retailer tier like I did. It's a graphic novel, so it didn't come out as individual issues. And I don't know if they're gonna release it later in a normal edition, but I say find it somehow. It's worth the getting. And it's like a whole $20, just like a regular graphic novel, and it's got this gold foil thing on it. So cool.
Jay, go back to Uncanny Valley. Guys, I figured out the elevator pitch.
What?
It's Space Jam meets The Matrix.
Sure.
Because the kid is the one.
Ah.
Yep.
It's Space Jam meets The Matrix. I'm sure that's how Tony Fleece sold it. 100%.
Certain.
All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. It is, as always, important for us that you visit your local comic shop. So head over to comicshoplocator.com. Type in the area where you are. Type in the number of the area where you are, and it will tell you where there are comic shops nearby to you. And then you can call those shops up and be like, hi, I'm an old person. I still hold a phone like this. Are you open? and then you could go in and buy things from them, which is super important to us. If you spent $5 extra at a comic shop every week, then comic shops all around the place would be having a lot easier time of it. As it is right now, everything is super tight. So go out and support your local comic shop. If you have a pull list, don't be a flake. Pick up your pull list. Okay, we'll be back next week for more reviews. Stay tuned later tonight for Kicking It with Henri, where he will be kicking it all the way back from Mile High Comics, where he picked up some cool stuff he's going to offer you. Miss Jen will be over on Comic Book Shopping Network right now, immediately following this show with Tomorrow's Comics Today. So head over and check that out while Mint Hunter is off on the paternity leave. So he will be back very soon, hopefully. So in the meantime, stick around. We got all kinds of great programming. We will see you next time.